joy when they begin to unfold the principles that are given to them in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. And in that passage, it unfolds the mindset that produces joy. People want to have joy as an emotional state, but that emotional state really is coming from what they're dwelling upon. And so he gives a list of things to dwell upon. I could talk about this in a minute, but he says at the end, dwell on these things. This idea of dwelling is this idea of filling your mind with them. If I have a sink or a bathtub, my kids have a bathtub, we have a bathtub at home, and they have all their plastic toys in the bathtub, little boats and octopus and things like that. And if I fill that bathtub with water, it eventually will be filled to the point that even those plastic toys will flow up and flow out. And it's that same idea with Philippians 4:8, that we're to fill our minds with these things. And as we fill our minds with them, the things that are joy robbing or joy stealing begin to flow away from us. And so if we focus our mind on whatever is true, that's what Paul says in Philippians 4:8. And truth is anything that's true about God as well as true about reality. So often people fill their minds with a way of thinking that is contrary to biblical thinking. They don't have a biblical worldview or biblical way of looking at life. And they then are wondering, why don't they have joy? Well, it's because they're not looking at life from God's perspective and dwelling upon truth. So whatever is true, dwell upon that. Or whatever is noble. We don't really think about nobleness very often, but nobleness is an important thing to think about. Would other people, if they heard what was going on in my mind, respect me for what I'm thinking about? Am I thinking naturally fruit-filled or spirit-filled, fruitful thinking, thoughts? Or am I dwelling upon selfish things and things that are going to be robbing me, things of the world, things that are unholy or impure? Am I thinking about those things, or am I thinking about noble things? Similarly, Paul says, whatever is lovely, that's the same idea of whatever is good or pure. He goes on to say that as well, of good repute. If anything excellent or anything deserving of praise, I need to fill my mind with things that are pure and lovely and deserving of praise. And as I do, he gives this promise. He says, dwell on these things, and if you do this, the God of peace, verse 9, will be with you. And so how do we have joy? Well, joy is ultimately a manifestation of peace in our life. And how does that come? That comes by dwelling upon the right things. Starts off verse 6 being in prayer, goes on later on filling our minds then with whatever is true and noble, just, pure, excellent, worthy of praise.